Greetings, R. Smalek here. I am back with another reflection video for Surviving Mindcrack Island. This video covers what I'm calling Day 10, or the second half of Mindcrack Episode 6. What you see behind me is the immunity challenge that we had to conquer. In this video, as in all the videos, I'll talk really quickly about the video schedule, recap of Day 10, and some things that struck me as interesting in the other points of view of the other contestants, some shout-outs, and that's it. So, as I said, Mindcrack, the official Episode 6, aired on April 15th. It covered 2 days. It was a reward challenge that I showed my point of view on the 15th, and then I did my reflection on the 16th. Yesterday, Monday the 18th, you saw my point of view running through this challenge behind me. It was pretty embarrassing, and you saw the point of view of the council. And then today's reflection is Tuesday the 19th. On Friday, the 22nd of April, on the Mindcrack channel, you'll see episode 7, which will start with my day 11. Okay? So I don't have that much to really say about what you see behind me, except that I am stupid. I thought, when we got here, I was completely confused as to what we were supposed to do. I honestly really did not understand what this was. What should have happened was these fences would drop down, and then you had to basically start punching your way through. Oh, I got to a fence, I can't go forward. Okay, I can go forward, and then I should have done this and punched my way under. And then whoever gets to the end of their lane first would hit a button. So I guess I would see now. What would I even do here? I'd have to break this, right? I'd hit this, and then my orange thing would pop up. And everyone else is doing this parallelly. The last people's blocks to pop up would be eliminated. So as you see here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us in the competition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the last 2 people would be eliminated and not move on to this section. And then it goes 2 more elimination down to 3. And then at the end, whoever hits their button first would win. I don't know why. I didn't realize that there was this gap here in between. What I thought was going to happen, for example, was that these 2 lanes were going to merge into one lane, and we would just keep on going, and then these 2 lanes would merge into one lane. I didn't realize that it was actually like you stop in between. And so when I saw this fence in front of me, okay, for one thing, this was 13 hours into the competition, and I just completely blanked out that I could dig down. It never occurred to me that I could dig down and go under the fence. I thought my lane was blocked, and I basically got randomly a bad lane, and I had to go into the next lane, and then they would merge. I literally thought that it was more like a maze, that some lanes were blocked. It screwed up Dire a tiny bit. I think it caused him confusion more than anything. Dire Dwarf, by the way. I'm still calling him Dire Wolf in this episode. Really embarrassing. But he was not eliminated at this point, because I think it was at this point that Brian MCN broke one of the fences with his axe and disqualified himself. So Dyer was able to go on as if I never screwed him up. And I will tell you, I think I was standing up here watching. I was trying to get good camera angles for you guys. And I got to tell you, I was so nervous. I thought that was it. I thought this was the end for me. I screwed up. I messed him up. I felt so bad. I thought I was going to be just voted out immediately after this. I really thought it was going to be the end. But anyway, so interestingly enough, DarkFan won this. And the reason I say interestingly enough is because at council, at least one of the team members voted for DarkFan, even though he was immune. basically throwing that vote actually could have gotten Dire Dwarf off the island instead of Brian MCN, who ended up going home. Watch my point of view if you want to know like how it all happened. But basically, the camp life after this event is probably, well, let me say it this way. Up to this point in the competition is the most exciting scheming that's gone on. And it got quite inflated out of proportion, to be honest with you, because what happened was I'm over here on the beach, and what happened was Dire Wolf had a book, and oh my gosh, Dire Dwarf had a book, and he wrote in the book, Brian, something like Brian or 3-2, you decide who goes home. Like, and he gave it to me, and I did not want to make that decision. In my mind, I was voting for Dire already, and I'm just thinking, how can I get the red team alone in a subtle way to get them to team up against Dire? But I was stuck right there with Dire, so I couldn't make a move. So I thought Brian was immune, but he wasn't immune. He had only won the reward challenge. He hadn't won immunity. That was Darkfan. This is actually before. Sorry, I'm referencing the book beforehand. So that was this. I actually talked about this last episode, and what's interesting is in this episode. Sorry, after this, that I might have just confused you guys. As I was heading through these trees with Honey at one point, she and I were talking about the book, and I said, I saw a book, thinking full well that she had seen it from Dire. I don't remember if I knew she had seen it or not. And she said, I don't know who's seen it, da-da-da. And I basically said Darkfan, meaning Darkfan had seen it. So I was trying to kind of ally myself with her, or at least let her know that I was part of the alliance to help take any target off my back. She misunderstood what I was saying. She thought that what I was saying was that Darkfan's name was actually in the book as a person to be voted off, and then she got a little confused that there was a second book. So it all became a big spy game when it was actually pretty straightforward. Let's see. And then once we got to Council 2, Honey made a comment about her diary, and when she went to vote, she made a comment about her diary. So I've been thinking this whole entire time that she edited all her videos, because remember, I didn't know anything about her channel at this point. I thought that her style of videos was like a diary format. Like every video would start, Dear Diary, today, blah, blah, blah. And then she'd editing clips and stuff. So I've actually been looking forward to her point of view videos for 2.5 years to see how she edited those. Again, based on a little piece of misinformation. And now I know how she's edited her videos. And we'll talk about those in a second. Yep, so I didn't know who voted for Darkfan until after it was all over, and then even if I knew then, I probably forgot until watching these videos. So let's talk about the other point of view videos that I watched. And these point of view videos are going to get less and less as people are voted out, of course. But this half of the week, I want to talk about the second half of the official video, which they called it Dawn 10, but Day 11. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. Lorgon 111's Episode 6, Part 1. I'm going to talk about Honey's Episode 6, Part 2, and Part 3. Those are the ones that I saw before recording this. So, what was interesting to me is this point of the competition right here. Dire came out of his lane with a very good lead. I think there was only one other person up here, but he neglected to hit the button and he ran up here. And I will attribute that to the confusion I caused back there. So he didn't hit the button, and then two other people came out and hit the button, and then he hit the button. So, and Good was busy trying to figure out, wait, what's going on? He missed the button, and we didn't actually see the order that these popped up. Now, supposedly, or I guess there's no reason for me to doubt this, but Good went back and reviewed some footage and made the call as to who actually won. But for whatever reason, the actual footage of people hitting the button here got edited out. There were people running up, and then all of a sudden, all 5 of these were up, and Good was making a decision. So I'm really hoping that I will get to see someone's point of view on this part of the challenge in the next day or two before Friday. It was really I was really frustrated, or I was reminded of my frustration that Desi at this point was not really wanting to talk politics and alliances, and yet in Honey's last video, you clearly see, and in the official video, you see him go up to her and basically say, "I want you to be on the server," and he starts working for her, and I'm like, is that his strategy? Does he legitimately want her? Like, it was want her on the server. It was really weird, and I actually was really frustrated while watching that. You also saw in the official video a scene, and then you see it in Lorgon's video, where Brian, 3-2, and Honey are fishing. They're fishing over here, back at the place where we all kind of gather up and then go off to council. And Brian basically says that he was approached with the book, but he didn't take advantage of that. He didn't want to talk with Dyer. And then I think he might have regretted that mistake, because when he was here with 3-2 and Honey, he sort of, in a non-aggressive way, goes like, "But now I'm open to talking about alliances if you want to." And I was like, "Oh, missed opportunity, bud. And now you're going to have to be a little bit more aggressive if you want to win them over. You can't just do it that way." But it almost felt like it went right over their heads, because 3-2 basically is like, "Well, I don't have any plan. I'm just playing to have fun." And Honey's like, "Yeah, I don't, I'm not really into scheming, and I'm a nice person." And I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm going, "Oh my God, would you guys play the game? Like, you guys are so passive. We are in this for like the most prestigious award at the time, joining the #1 Minecraft vanilla server with some of the most amazing Minecrafters who make the most amazing stuff, mechanically, visually, whatever. And you guys are like, you're just here to have fun." I'm like, play the game. So I was getting frustrated with that, and I will say, really the only other person playing the game at this point is Dyer. With his book and all that stuff, like, he's playing the game. Hey, oh, I know what this is. I was going to say, I don't know what that is. Okay, so yeah, Dyer even says in his interview that he approached Brian for an alliance. He didn't get a response and then moved on to me. So there was a good chance that I would have not been in the quote-unquote alliance with the 3 blue team members. It would have went to Brian, and I would have been voted out at this point in the game. So I guess I escaped by a hair's breadth. It is interesting to see in other points of view that pretty much everybody feels like they have a target on their back every day, even though the people that truly had targets on their back, is now pretty clear. But every move you make, you basically thought, "Oh, I'm out. That's it. I'm dead. I need to now, like, somehow make up for this." And that goes for mistakes that you make that hurt the tribe, as well as positive things that make you look too strong. Like, you really had to walk a fine balance between looking too strong and looking too weak. I'm going to mention something that I've learned from now watching the real show Survivor. I've actually watched the whole current season. I really got into it once this started airing. So I watched the whole current season, and then I binge watched 3 past seasons, which were supposed to be really good ones, and then I watched some specific episodes that were supposed to have like big twists and reveals. And I've learned a few things about like the common tactics of what happens on Survivor, and that has given me, oh my gosh, such a bigger appreciation for this contest that I do wish I had back then. I think I would have slightly changed my strategy, but like there's a basically a concept in that game. I'm just going to mention it right now, and I may talk about it in the future, of bringing a goat with you to the final two. And what that means is basically you want to have a strong alliance so you can protect each other up until the merge, and then after the merge, you want to start getting rid of people who are strong against you, but you want to keep a goat around. You want to keep somebody who's not that great, who you think is not really going to be sympathetic to the final jury, who is going to be easily beaten at the end. So you want to start stacking the deck in your favor. So for example, oh, this is going to be a bad example, and I don't mean to sound this way, but let's say that if I was going to the final right now, and I'm only going to talk about people that have already been voted off. Let's say that I was going right now and I wanted to be aligned with Old Man Willikers because I thought he was the strongest political player. So I might have him left in the final four or final three, and then I want somebody really weak. Let's just say fictitious goat person, number 1, 2, 3. I would want to take them with me, knowing that I can beat them. So I wouldn't want to vote somebody out too early that's weak, because I can use them later in the final as an easy person to get off, so I win. So as you guys watch the rest of the series, I want you to think about who's playing the game, who's just here for fun but is a really good player, because at this point everybody left is a good player, and who might be left that is a goat or taken to council that is easily beatable. And are the other players playing with that type of strategy in mind, or are they just playing all for themselves? Are they just playing for their alliance and they will never vote against their alliance? Are they playing randomly? I want you guys to start thinking about that as we get in, because that's what's going to make this dramatic and fun. Okay, I got off on a real tangent here, so I'm talking about point of views and what I learned from them. Let's see. Just watching the official video, I really wanted to figure out who Brian voted for. And he said something in his interview about wanting to vote somebody out who he thought had been basically hogging food and playing for themselves. And I couldn't figure out who it was until I found out that Desi was the one who mistakenly, or maybe strategically, voted for Darkfan, even though Darkfan had immunity. Desi's the one who threw away his vote, and then there were 2 votes for Desi, and it had to be Brian in 3-2 that voted against Desi. So anybody who says that I voted against my own team by voting Vaughn out, the rest of my team just voted against Red, and because they all split the vote, Dyer didn't go home, and Brian suffered the consequences of the 3-person blue vote. So if you still have in mind, alliance of red and blue, at this point there is a strong blue alliance, and the red team is a bit of a mess. And so my goal next episode should have been, not telling you if it will be, you'll find out, to re-ally the red team, because now it's going to be 3 against 3. We need one of us to win immunity, and we need to vote out a blue player. We cannot afford to lose someone else, or we're going to get steamrolled, potentially. Okay, so then I watched Lorgon 111's point of view. Again, links to all these are in the description. I talked about most everything I wanted to, except he said one thing that blew my mind and is so awesome, Brian. You did so awesome in this competition. If nothing else, you should be proud of some of the firsts that you had, achievements you had, particularly that you didn't die in this competition until you died after you won the reward challenge. He had never died this whole entire time. Everyone else had died at least 2, if not more times, and taken penalties. So, Brian, I kind of feel like you proved to be one of the, if not the best, pure Minecraft player. I think you had great leadership skills, and I think I underestimated you, and I got lucky that you got voted off at this point. So thank you for that. In Honey's episodes, she spent a lot of time showing us what happens in the Bedrock boxes in between events where we're waiting around for the camera people, waiting for interviews, waiting for Good to figure out how he wants to tweak the game. And for example, we ended up skipping a challenge that never got implemented, and it was an auction challenge. Now, I had not seen or heard of these auction challenges until just like a week and a half ago, watching one in a past episode of Survivor where basically each of the contestants is given some cash, and then they see a series of items. They don't know how many items they are. They don't know what order they're going to be in, and they're basically trying to outbid each other on items. And it's a reward challenge. And at this point, we were running late. In fact, I believe that Good mentions in one of the behind-the-scenes parts that we were at the 13-hour mark. And so they decided not to do that challenge to try to wrap this up quicker. But that would have been interesting. So one of these sets that I have a map of was never seen or used in this competition. Speaking of running late, so we started this in the evening on the 29th, and I'm pretty sure that was a Sunday night. I'd have to go back and double check a calendar. And that next Monday morning, remember this was only supposed to take like a couple hours. That next Monday morning, or no, it was Monday evening, I was supposed to get on no, it was Monday morning actually. I was supposed to be on a flight, and I was supposed to work the next day. So I've already been up 13 hours at this point, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to be dead tomorrow. Like, there is no way I'm going to be able to function. And by the way, like, it's like 1 a.m. at this point, and potentially, I'm going to try to get some sleep before my flight, but potentially I'm going to have to call into work tomorrow because this thing could still be going. And at this point, Good said that his goal was to be done by 3 or 4 a.m. And Suchel had already had to go. He was a member of the jury, but he had to go to work, so he left. So Good was getting really stressed out at this point that we weren't going to finish, quote unquote, on time. And he was really afraid that if any time passed between the final challenge and the final vote, that it was going to corrupt the game. So I feel for Good at this point. He had been dreaming about this for 3 to 4 years and planning this. This is a big project to him. So forget about all the waiting after this occurred, but just the stress during the filming of getting it all done in one night. The guy deserves a medal. Anyway, okay, so let's see. I covered most of my notes. During Honey's interview with Jay Sano, he's like, I'm throwing out the typical question list. I want you to tell me what was in the book. So, and you heard Doc M at one point say, we know about the book. So they knew that we had a book. They knew it was being passed around, but the cameramen couldn't see what was written in the book because it was in Dyer's inventory. So they were dying to know what's in the book. And Jay Sano is a huge Survivor fan. In fact, he still does recaps of the Survivor TV show on his channel. And so, like, he wants to see the intrigue and the plotting and the planning. I think he was a little frustrated that Honey wasn't doing that stuff. He even said, like, so this is the first time you're actually starting to plot against people. Like, I could just feel him when he interviewed her getting excited. It makes me wish that Jay Sano had been the person interviewing me. And so far, I don't think it's been revealed who was interviewing me. I don't think you've seen that person yet. So, curious if you guys have any more guesses. Okay, I'm definitely running long, but again, I'm just having fun here. So we skipped the auction challenge during fishing and after immunity. Okay, I already talked about that. Oh, so then during the council, there was a moment, and every little moment matters. If I haven't said that already, every tiny little action you do matters. It may not matter to the whole group, but at a minimum, it matters to yourself as you're psyching yourself out. So Brian's standing up there, and for some reason we were each holding a redstone torch, which represents our light. And when you get voted off, your torch gets snuffed out. You put it on a end frame, and Good flips a lever, and the torch turns off, and you're out. So Brian's holding his torch. All of a sudden, you see Brian throw the torch onto the ground on accident. And Good's like, oh, Brian's throwing his torch. Are you giving up? Do you not want to be here anymore? And then you see immediately Honey step forward and pick up Brian's torch and then go back into the stands. And Good's like, and Honey just took your torch. Like, oh, it was, I to me, it was hilarious. It was another moment that just breaks up the intense pressure that we felt. But to Brian, I imagine he's like, oh my God, I just made a mistake. Wait, is Good serious? Is this going to taint people's view of me? You know, like every little action, you start second guessing yourself. And those moments stuck out to me, and I appreciate them. Hey, does this drop all the fences? Ooh, it actually works. Cool. Okay, so basically I think that's more than enough of my point of view. I'm sorry if it was felt a little bit chaotic. Maybe it sounded fine. I have notes written in a nice order, and I try to really figure out what I'm going to say before I start this so that I can keep these as short as possible, but it never happens. So anyway, but I know the people who watched it to this point are enjoying it, so let's give some shout outs. Now, I gave a bunch of people shout outs last time. I'm not going to mention you again, but some of you guys did comment again, and I thought all the comments were awesome. Tried to respond to as many of them as I can. And you will be eligible for shout outs again next time. So I want to shout out people I haven't shouted out. Polar Moss has said some encouraging words. Adam, the English teen, commented on Honey's confusion with the books. So awesome for pointing that out. Several people pointed out to me that I mistakenly said that. I think I must have said in my recap that Brian punched the creeper at Honey, but it was actually 3-2. Nick Dean said it most eloquently, so I'm shouting you out. And Hunter Allen noted, and I made a mistake in editing in my last episode. I accidentally showed the graphic where Brian was already crossed out, even though my point of view hadn't shown that he was voted off. However, I don't consider it a huge spoiler because the official channel showed him being voted off already. My point of views hadn't caught up to that yet, but I did kind of spoil that if you're only watching my channel. So again, I do encourage you to watch the official point of view first and then watch my point of view. I actually think that makes my point of view more interesting because it makes you go, oh, that's why such and such happened. Anyway, my opinion. And then, of course, Digger Dan and some others also tweeted out my episodes. I don't typically give shout-outs to my friends because you guys already know you're awesome, but I will give two quick ones this time. R30hedron and Granny's Got Game have had nice things to say and have been very supportive of me for quite a long time, so thank you guys both. Okay, so one bit of miscellaneous trivia. It really doesn't have anything to do with this. However, I am hoping and planning to go to Minecon this year. It's in September. If you want to know more about Minecon, go to Mojang's site, or you can look at people's videos from past years, including mine from the first Minecon. I'm planning to go. I already have a hotel room, and tickets go on sale in something like 18 days, and so I'm really, really, really hoping to go there. And if you are also going and you still, remember me, this series will be over by then, but I would definitely love to say hi and shake your hand and thank you for supporting me through this experience. I'll just quickly mention that I also I run a Minecraft server. It's called Realm Smalek. It started off on a realm, but now it's just a dedicated server. It has the best community of Minecraft map makers, all playing in survival, having a great time. And if you want to watch my latest two videos, I'm actually quite proud of them. The first one's called RID Breach. The second one is RIDs 3. It's basically, well, I don't want to spoil it, but me and a small team infiltrating somebody's secret base. And I'm just really proud of that video. That server is basically made possible by generous patrons who donate to me on a monthly basis for as little as $1 a month. And the proceeds from that basically go to things like keeping the server running, so that I can keep making content. So if you're interested in supporting or donating, you can always check me out on patreon.com/rsmalek. All the links, of course, will be in the description, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I am thinking about what my next big series will be after this, besides the Realm Smalek stuff. And we'll talk about that in the coming days or weeks or however long I stay in this competition. Please do remember, if you want to talk, though, about surviving Mindcrack Island, if you want to theorize and predict and debate who's going to win this thing, go to the Mindcrack subreddit, and there is usually a poll that goes up on Wednesdays with the refreshed contestants, whoever's left, to see who do you think is going to win it all. I've always started off down, not last place, but, down there, like, let's say, the bottom 10%. But I've been climbing, and, I kind of think, well, from what I've seen so far, I'm still in it, so things might be looking good. If you want to join Team Smalek, you can. It's a little Reddit flare, which is amazing. So, okay, wow, I've gone really long. I'm going to jump in the water and cool off, and see you next time.